Bound for the World, the making of Bunyan's books. As well as the John Bunyan Museum, Bunyan Meeting is home to an amazing library containing copies of Bunyan's books, from the earliest editions to translations into nearly every language, coming right up to date as his writing continues to inspire people to the present day. They tell the story of a strong Christian faith, not part of the comfortable establishment of his time, but as a persecuted dissenter in troubled times. The library also holds unique manuscript records and memoirs, glimpses into a story largely untold in English and world history. At a recent event for the Friends of the John Bunyan Museum and Library, we laid out some of our hidden treasures. On this table, you can see examples of manuscripts and diaries which form part of this record. The first is John Brown's biography of Bunyan, who was minister of Bunyan Meeting in the late 19th century. These are his handwritten pages, mounted and bound into 4 volumes under the care of our trustees and presented to Bunyan Meeting in 1929. Next to that are copies of Joshua Symonds' diaries from the 18th century. Symonds was a good friend of John Newton, the anti-slavery campaigner and writer of the hymn Amazing Grace. Symonds used to travel to Olney to visit Newton, so his diaries are a wonderful record of significant times, echoed in Newton's own letters and diaries. 3 of the diaries are in our collection, others are held elsewhere, and some, unfortunately, are lost. Again, they are his handwritten recollections in his own notebooks. A wonderful manuscript resource, which was thought to have been lost, was discovered in our collection and is now available for study. This is a list of dissenting churches drawn up in 1774, a very important record of Christian life in what were still difficult times for dissenting believers. The binding is contemporary with the contents. The beautiful marbled end papers are also original to the binding, and the bookplate is that of the trustees of Bunyan Meeting. It has been in the collection at least from the 19th century. You can see from the general condition that this book is in need of some repair and conservation. The pages are damaged along the edges, but it is still in reasonably good shape. We do have some books that are in far worse condition than this. Recently, we put in hand the restoration of a very precious 3rd edition of Bunyan's The Pilgrim's Progress. Here, the book has lost a great deal of the outer edge of the pages. Perhaps it was kept on a bookshelf against a wall in a damp cottage. Many homes would not have been protected against damp, and copies of Bunyan's books were often the treasured possessions of poor people, not at this stage kept in the libraries of the well-to-do. Conservation is a careful and painstaking process. First, the pages are separated from the binding and cleaned by brushing and rubbing with special tools shown here. They are then immersed in water. No chemicals or additives. The washed and dried pages are repaired using a mixture of both Japanese and Western papers, which have different properties to support and protect the original damaged pages. You can see here that the inside pages have come up cleaner than the title page. This suggests that the cover has been lost at some stage and the book was kept with its title page exposed. The book has been rebound, and is now back on display in the John Bunyan Museum. Well worth a visit. The Pilgrim's Progress was an immediate and enduring bestseller, famously the most translated book in the world after the Bible. And it did, of course, become a must-have volume for the libraries of aspiring middle-class Victorian households. So new editions came out with ornate gilded covers and hand-tooled spines. Some of these books would have been bespoke. They possibly would have been published as text only, and purchasers could buy the illustrations separately to include in their copy when it was beautifully bound. We possess a scrapbook containing many of these illustrations, which were produced for the early editions of the Pilgrim's Progress. We have in the library a copy of the Pilgrim's Progress with an important illustration missing. The illustration is in one of the scrapbooks in our possession. Here is a dilemma. We could use that illustration to complete a precious copy of Bunyan's book, but damage a contemporary collection of prints in the process. What would you do? Later editions were produced for specific markets. This is a late 19th century copy with a distinctly boy's own image of adventure on the front cover, and a more restrained version for the early 20th century. And of course, the Pilgrim's Progress was bound for the world. It became the great missionary text, next after the Bible. Translation was not just a matter of changing the words, but also using local technologies to produce copies that people could easily access. These copies used Chinese or Japanese methods of binding, sewing the pages together with a soft cover, which would be protected in separate decorated boards. Bunyan's story of a traveller beset by dangers on all sides was accessible to people of any culture, and we know from our global visitors how influential this was in carrying the Christian faith around the world. Though we are now aware of the flawed nature of 19th century missionary activities, which often followed in the wake of colonial expansion, our visitors tell us of the affection in which Bunyan's writings are still held as a record and inspirer of faith. Our library shows the huge range of versions, bindings, translations, and editions, and supporting manuscripts, diaries, studies, and memoirs, which tell the story of this exciting time in the history of our country and the journey of the Christian faith, bound for the world.